Well, thank you for taking the time to attend our webinar today. I know that you're all very busy, but we're delighted to be hosting this webinar on search and evaluation best practices. To give you an idea of who is on the call today, we have about 75 people joining us, primarily from some top 50 pharmas, some large and mid-sized pharmas, but also we have some biotechs, generics, and others. Today, we will be hearing from Neil Anderson, the Search and Evaluation Director at Novo Nordisk, as well as Shankar Shrestha, Inova Senior Pharma Solutions Expert, and Sébastien Buffier, our Head of Customer Success Pharma. Before we dive in, I have just a few administrative logistics. Your microphones will be on mute during the presentation so that we can minimize background noise. If you have any questions during the presentations, please just type them in the chat window. I'll be keeping an eye on it throughout the webinar. And after the webinar, we will send out a link to the recording in case you'd like to refresh your memory or share it with your colleagues. As a quick reminder, today we will be discussing current trends in search and evaluation, including how Inova supports these trends. Then we will hear from Neil, who will discuss best practices in S&E at Novo Nordisk. And finally, we'll open it up for questions and discussion. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Shankar and Sébastien for the S&E trends.
Awesome. Thanks, Megan, and thank you everyone for joining. Glad to see such a good turnout. What I and Sébastien want to quickly share with you to preface Neil's presentation are some trends we see in biopharma partnering ecosystem. This is based on what we're finding to be true with our customers, which is generally a good indication of what's happening in the industry. So let's get started. First, we're seeing a big movement towards more refined S&E strategies and processes. So what that means is three things in particular that we want to highlight here. One, there are now strategy departments and CSO roles created to focus on innovation and external partnerships. Two, these organizations are implementing scouting roadmaps for targeted therapeutic areas and indications, so you're searching for the right things. And three, biopharma, especially big pharma, is establishing innovation hubs to work with emerging startups and biotechs. And apparently everyone's moving to Boston. To illustrate these points in a bit more detail, here's how we've helped with implementation of S&E strategies and roadmaps for our clients. So most, if not all, of biopharma companies have innovation strategy for external partnerships. You all know this well. This drives the needs and definition of scouting roadmaps. And there are two well-known paradigms to implement the search process: an open, let everyone know you're looking to collaborate model, or a more refined undercover approach to find assets before your competitors do. Inova has solutions for both methodologies. For example, we've implemented a submission portal with Eli Lilly, AbbVie, UCB, and others to support the open partnership model. And we've also helped companies like Novo Nordisk and Otsuka with data analytics capabilities to help with landscape analysis and competitive intelligence. Given that Inova is their trusted source of partnering information, we can help with that. I'm also going to let Sébastien kind of dive into more details on this shortly during his presentation also. Next, all the search information, whether from external sources or Inova integrated tools, can be managed in our platform for end-to-end partnering lifecycle, like due diligence, CDA checks, document management, etc. Well, there's a lot of things and capabilities highlighted here, so we'd be happy to demonstrate any and all of that for you individually, but we probably don't have the time to go over all of it today. And just to highlight the third point from earlier about innovation hubs, I'm sure you've all seen the latest on the Kendall Square boom in Boston. So there are some headlines pertaining to some of our clients. Going too fast. So the second trend is around data. Well, data has always been critical and played a critical a central role in search and evaluation. We want to focus on 3 topics impacting how data impacts search and evaluation today. So first, there's even more data available than ever before. You have market research, financial models, clinical trial data, publications, etc. That you as a scout have to sort through in your daily life. Thankfully, we have new tools to access, curate, and analyze. So analytics and of course AI, that's the buzzword of the day, are becoming more common way to complement traditional approaches with data-driven insights. And all the diverse data sources being utilized, search and evaluation teams are looking to integrate as much intelligence as possible during the search process to find the hidden gems. All of these new tools and tech now available has made creating clean data a priority to reduce all of the noise coming from the various sources. So how can Inova be utilized to optimize your data search and quality? Let's break down the points that I just mentioned in the previous slide. First, with regards to the abundance of data sources, we have built in integrations with tools that search teams frequently use, such as your Outlook emails, data sources like Clarivet Cortellis and Informa, and conference organizers like Bio and EBD. So we can bring in the event and your interactions at those events as well, along with a simple Excel import as well. Once the data is in the Inova platform, we can act as a repository of knowledge, corporate memory, deal management, and reporting tool. And finally, when you have all your relevant information in one place, you can use the system to extract intelligence and KPIs to drive your process and inform your stakeholders. Okay, so that's my time. I'm going to hand it over to Sébastien and to talk about the next trend. Sébastien?
Thank you, Shankar, and hello, everyone. Actually see that there's quite a few questions already on the chat window, so that's good. So for this third one, proactive scouting, again, with all the data and the new tools in our arsenal, S&E teams can be much proactive in their scouting activities. And this is what we've seen, much more proactivity. Today, almost all companies have structured open innovation strategies and are constantly adding more to the shelves. I'm just going to name the 5 most active ones. So the first, open innovation strategy, therefore unrestricted, everyone can see it. It's a structured way for external companies, biotech especially, to propose an innovative small molecule, a biopharmaceutical or a technology to a pharma company through a corporate website. And this is one example of Novartis, but we have many more with Ferring, Eli Lilly, AbbVie. Basically, 80% of our top 50 pharma clients have deployed such a portal. The second, we also see pharma companies providing the means to internal employees to propose opportunities they've identified themselves, going to other type of conferences the S&E people usually go to. In this second strategy, 30% of our top 50 pharma clients have deployed such a process. UCB, Mallinckrodt, Zoetis, and many more. A third strategy, a bit less visible within our top 50 clients, consists in structuring private investigator study. The fourth one, grant proposal. The fifth one, solving scientific challenges. So talking now more about confidential sourcing or undercover sourcing. So using available databases is now a mandatory step towards proactivity. And our pharma clients use, Clarivet Analytics, Bio Organization, the Bio Database, Intium, PubMed, Global Data, and many others. So they've realized that actually accessing the bio data after the conference is over, it brings a lot of value as the quality is often better than these other databases as more up to date. So we also see pharma companies structuring their partnering days. And Neil will tell us more about this in a few minutes. Let's now talk about partnering intelligence at Bio. The first and important fact is that meeting requests initiated by pharma companies in 2015 represented 27%. We are talking here of outgoing requests to biotechs. So in 2018, it went up to 35%, showing a growth in proactivity by pharma companies. So partnering intelligence at Bio consists, for Inova at least, in helping our clients to find more relevant partners at Bio conferences. UCB, Servier, Ipsen have asked us to support them this Bio 2019 to help them identify the right partners based on their sourcing brief. The last point is about search landscape. This one is becoming very important, and Inova's clients like Allergan, Novartis have moved forward already. So to be even more proactive, we've seen over the last few years that the S&E departments are putting in place the right processes and the right solutions to support having an up-to-date landscape of potential strategic assets. And this to make sure to not miss any, right? So some companies do landscaping themselves, some other also value the support of external consultants to provide these reports, some do both. It is also important to mention that the competitive intelligence team and the data teams are working together to supply intelligence to search and evaluate teams. But competitive intelligence is more focused on following known strategic assets, while search and evaluate is looking for unknown assets. So these three trends are only an overview, but they seemed important for Shankar and I to mention.
Great. Thank you, Sébastien, and thank you, Shankar, for your presentation and for going over those trends for us. Next up, we'll hear from Neil Anderson, the Search and Evaluation Director at Novo Nordisk. As a reminder, if you have any questions during his presentation, please just type it in the chat window and I'll let him know. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Neil.
Hi everyone, and thanks for the intro. Yeah, as you heard, my name is Neil Anderson. I'm part of the search and evaluation team here at Novo Nordisk. I've been in this group for about 2 years, and I'm currently leading our scouting efforts within our stem cells area. And I'll go into our setup and division of responsibilities in a bit more detail here. So, I can move the slides. That's great. So. As a bit of background to myself, I'm a scientist by training, but I've been in business development roles for search and evaluation, corporate development, also strategic roles for the last 11 years or so, first at Lundbeck and now at Novo Nordisk. So focusing on the search and evaluation practice at Novo Nordisk, I'll give a quick intro to our group, where we sit in the organizational structure, and also what our processes are to put this into perspective, and then take a look at some of the areas we're currently working on in terms of improving our S&E and where we think this is going in an industry perspective. So our group here, outlined in the red, we are part of global drug discovery, and this is partly for historic reasons we're in this group. But our group is actually responsible for scouting of all opportunities up to clinical proof of concept. So anything up to the end of phase 2 is within our remit. We work closely together with the global drug discovery business development team for making the transactions, and then onto the project and alliance management organization. So that is our ecosystem. We also have a sister department that is based in our commercial organization that takes all opportunities that are post clinical proof of concept, so phase 3 and onwards, are handled by the commercial business development group. And our biopharm unit also have their own group. So biopharm at Novo Nordisk means the assets that are not metabolic disease. So this is our hemophilia and growth hormone primarily, is within biopharm, and they have their own team. And I should also mention that on top of this, and not on the slide, there's a small group of scouts in our device R&D organization that are more focused on engineering scouting. So this is our team as it stands at the moment. As you can see, it's divided into two halves. So on the left-hand side, you've got the headquarters team. These are the scouts that are based here and are linked to the therapy areas. As you can see, we have scouts covering all of our key therapy areas. And as I was mentioning, I'm currently in charge of stem cell scouting. And this means that we have good links to the scientific decision makers within those areas, and also a good alignment with the strategy there. To extend our reach, we also have our regional scouts. These guys have a geographic specialization, but they cover all of the therapy areas. So we have Chuck, based in New York, covers USA and Canada. We have Shishen, based in China, that covers Asia Pacific. Florence in Paris, that covers Europe and Middle East. And then Aaron in Boston, who covers Boston. And again, this speaks to the fact that there is such a rich environment in Boston that having one person on the ground full-time covering that area is in itself not enough. And I'll come to some of the areas that we're actually developing in the Boston area. So moving on, I think this is a slide that's going to be very familiar to any of you guys working in BD and search and evaluation. And this process is very similar to industry processes. It just highlights that we in the S&E group are, living up to our name of search and evaluation. So the search part, we have strong alignment and interactions with the scientific decision makers in our various therapy areas, and use the guidance from them to guide our scouting and asset identification. And then once we find the interesting opportunities, it is us that drives it through the initial evaluation, and taking it up to the government, the first governance endorsement to go say, this is something interesting, let's move forward. Once we have an opportunity that we're moving forward into negotiations, we then hand over to our business development colleagues, and they take on the negotiation. So with that background in place, I just highlight a few of the areas that we are working or have been working on or are working on in terms of improving our search and evaluation, in terms of improving our reach and responsiveness. So the first one I've already alluded to, and this is making sure that what we are scouting for is aligned with the therapy area strategies. So one of the aspects is highlighted in our organizational setup, that we have the guys like me based in headquarters that are in daily contact with our key scientific decision makers in our therapy areas. And we also hold regular meetings with these teams to make sure that we're in alignment with their portfolio and strategy, and that also the opportunities that we're finding and bringing in fit with that. And also on top of that, we do a lot of proactive prioritization and screening in those areas. And in particular, Novo Nordisk has traditionally been very strong in the diabetes, hemophilia areas. We are now moving out into new areas, so adjacent areas to the metabolic disease in particular, so cardiovascular disease, liver disease, kidney disease. And in these areas where we haven't had so much presence and the opportunities don't come to us as readily, it's very important to be going out, making our name known, and searching proactively for the opportunities. And as you can see on the right, there's some numbers that the Inova guys pulled for us that just speak to the increasing amount of proactive sourcing that we're doing. So our bio meeting requests, of the proportion of outgoing requests has increased significantly over the previous years. So on to the next point, and I'll just say, this is not just because I'm sitting on an Inova seminar here that I mentioned this, but we really are moving forwards in terms of making our information storage and information sharing much more up to date. And the system we are using is Inova for this. So we've had the Inova system in place for about 1.5 years now, and we are still in the process of both implementing all of the features that we can use in the Inova process, but also tailoring our teamwork processes to best use Inova. And And to that point, we actually have we've just recruited an intern into our team who's going to be looking at our working processes and the system and making sure we get the most out of these. But the aim is that we have one central place for storing all of the information on external opportunities and also the review process. And so this can be used on a day-to-day basis for case management, but then it can also be a go-to system for reporting and archiving for future use. And as I said, we are working hard to make this tool part of our daily system rather than using parallel systems, which has been part of the historical setup. And then finally, we are, as a group, by necessity and the fact that we're going out into areas that we're not so well known, we are really working on our awareness and visibility. So on top of the standard bio meetings and JP Morgan meetings, we're also targeting disease-specific meetings, so scientific conferences where we will come with and set up partnering booths and set up meetings with companies whilst we've got some of our senior scientific decision makers on site. We've also had a lot of success with Novo Nordisk hosted partnering days and also open innovation calls, and I can go into those in a bit more on the next couple of slides. So one of the tools that we've had a lot of success with is these Novo Nordisk partnering days, and just over the last year or two, we've had these in Japan, Boston, Israel, South Korea, San Diego, and these are meetings where we will fly out a number of our key therapy area heads. We will set up meetings, invite companies in beforehand, and have some very targeted partnering meetings. And we find that there's a very good hit rate for opportunities coming out of these very targeted meetings. And in addition, we are also now moving into using the open innovation model, and this was in its most recent incarnation. You can see in the bottom picture there, this was launched from our Chinese research site, where we're now opening our labs to invite small startups and biotech ideas to come in and use some incubation space and hopefully mature some opportunities of real value through that setup. And then finally, it wouldn't be a search and evaluation talk without mentioning Boston again. Novo Nordisk has not traditionally had a strong presence in Boston. We have no research center there. We in our group have had a scout located in Boston for a good few years now. But one of the ambitions of the company is to really strengthen around that presence. And in fact, my boss, so the head of our area, is now located in Boston. He's in the Boston ecosystem and sits physically in Boston. And around him and our scout, they're now building out a larger team, so with including transactions, alliance management within that ecosystem. And these slides are actually already out of date because they've outgrown that small office on the picture and have now moved to a large premises. So that was all I had to say, and I'm happy to take any questions from this.
All right, great. Thank you, Neil, for your presentation. So let's get started with the question and discussion session. Feel free, if anyone has any questions and would like to raise their hand, please do. There's a little hand icon on the right-hand side of your screen that will allow me to unmute you so you can ask your question yourself. Otherwise, feel free to type your question in the chat window and I will read it out for everyone. So let's do a first question from David is, so Big Pharma is using a proactive approach to identifying new opportunities, artificial intelligence, business intelligence. How does a small biotech appear on the radar?
Is that a question to me?
I think so.
Yeah, I could take that one. So I think, databases is certainly one area. We do a lot of proactive scouting, looking through the databases, looking through the patent databases, looking through the publication databases, and also, of course, the development databases such as Cortellis and Pharma projects. So just making sure that if you want to be found, making sure you're publishing, you're visible is a first thing. and also, you know, bio meetings, partnering meetings are a very good way to you know, make us aware of what you're doing. I think, you know, we find it more the problem going out into these new areas that people don't know we would be looking for opportunities in this area. So we're having to advertise ourselves in that way.
Okay, great. So our next question from Samantha is, do you have every opportunity loaded into the Inova system, or only deals at a certain stage, such as deals passing a triage stage?
So at the moment, the answer is no, we don't have everything in there. The ambition is that we do. And this is part of the project we've got ongoing now to look at our working processes and basically trying to make Inova our daily system for tracking any interaction, which means that then for free off the back of that, we get the data integrity and reporting capabilities.
So Sébastien talking here, it's quite an important question because we've, you know, having a system like that has to be easy to use, and it has to be incorporated in your day-to-day work almost, and supporting you and helping you. So, you know, we've connected with the bio system as an example. So every meeting you have at Bio 2019, for example, if you use our system, every meetings with the people you met, the company you met, and the description, everything will be automatically loaded in Inova. So that helps to really track opportunity as soon as you meet the partner, the potential partner. And this is indeed before triage. So we want to facilitate gathering the data, you know, from the different data points that you would have. One is bio, there is other from your email when you receive an email from a potential partner. We really facilitate inputting the data in Inova so that you can actually start to track this before triage. But that's indeed totally optional.
All right, great, thank you. So we have another question that is, what were the pain points encountered that led to the decision to transition to Inova? So I think this must be for you, Neil.
Yes, so before we had Inova, we had a system from IdeaPoint, and part of the issue of that was actually self-inflicted, in that in the days when we set that system up many years back, we had an information IT requirement internally that meant that the system had to run on internal servers, and this meant effectively that it was pretty much inaccessible to the IdeaPoint team, and that upgrades and system development was very difficult. So our system was old, not very easy to use, which meant that we weren't using a lot of time, and it got to a point where we were only updating our top priority cases in order to generate a monthly report. I think things have evolved, and we're able to use a cloud solution, and we then had the option of moving to other systems. And I think when we looked at the cost benefit and support across the various solutions, we chose Inova because they look best on all fronts, and we certainly have not regretted that decision one day yet.
All right, good, thank you. So our next question is, do you think that Big Pharma is getting too Boston-centered and therefore chasing the same opportunities?
Yeah, well, I would say that if you're not in Boston, you're going to be missing opportunities, and also not all opportunities are in Boston. But I think, yes, I mean, within a certain therapy area, there are certain players, and we are all chasing the same assets. I think, and that's unavoidable. So I think, a Boston presence in itself is important to have, just to be able to compete on that playing field.
All right, great, thank you. And just a reminder, if you guys have questions, feel free to keep adding them to the chat window. We'll keep going through all of them, or to raise your hand if you would like to ask it yourself. And so I'll give you the mic for that. So our next question is, by stepping outside of Novo traditional therapeutic areas, are you having issues identifying internal experts?
I would say the issue we have is that we don't have as many internal experts in these areas. So we're not completely there on the ground there. But the issue is that we then, when we have only a few experts, we do use them a lot and have to have a lot of their resources involved in external searches and evaluation. So we are also using KOL on-demand vendors and so on to be able to get some more both capacity in terms of resources, but also further opinions in those areas. But yes, in essence, it is a problem compared to the areas we have a lot more expertise in.
All right, great, thank you. So our next question is, do you use Inova for your due diligence? Do you have negotiators that have access to Inova as well?
At the moment, not so much. Our negotiators are in the system and do have access to the system, but we're using it primarily as a search and evaluation tool. So they are inheriting the case and the data from our team. And then this is one of the areas that we certainly know the way we use the Inova system is probably only utilizing 30% of the functionality, and we certainly see a lot of value in rolling this out for much broader in the company and in the team. But it's an iterative process for us.
And just hi, this is Shankar. So just to add to that, what we have seen, in many of the other companies like Eli Lilly and AbbVie is that process of due diligence being executed through Inova, meaning that you can invite experts and you have functional area heads that can provide their feedback on a particular opportunity or a target that you're looking into, and having all of that information kind of streamlined through a single system allows them to make those decisions a lot faster and have all of their relevant documentation and discussions and comments that they received from all the different experts, kind of curated in one location. So there's definitely a use in the industry for that purpose as well.
All right, great. Thank you, guys. So our next question is a question to both. What do you recommend university tech transfer offices do to get on Pharma's S&E radar? How can tech transfer offices utilize Inova to achieve this?
So I can start with that. I mean, I think the one thing I will say is relationship building. So identifying the scouts, the people doing my job in the pharma, and start building the relationship and listening to what we are looking for and bringing those type of opportunities and keeping a regular contact. I'd say that's the best way to do it. And I guess in terms of the system, if we, using it as a contact tracking database would be a way to make sure that those relationships are maintained.
Yeah, I can develop a little bit here. You're more on the selling side, so Inova is used by both companies focusing on in-licensing, also out-licensing, and also collaboration project. So it's definitely already pre-configured to support that need, from trying to identify a partner, and then as you identified it, manage the relationship and the ongoing agreements with obligation. Now it is also a key strategic direction for Inova to also provide more visibilities to the TTOs at Bio and other conferences. So this is not already existing solutions, but this is something we're working on as we speak.
All right, great. So our next question is, do you have a team involved in early stage partnerships with digital health companies using digital biomarkers?
Yes, we do. Again, that's an area that I'm not so close to, but we do have a definite digital health strategy. This is run in many ways as a cross-functional effort from marketing, R&D, and IT, but that's anchored in the commercial organization at the present time.
All right, thank you. So the next question do you think a degree or major in university or graduate school are important or required to evaluate an asset? Or would experience be more important for an expert?
So do I think that you have to have a university degree to evaluate? I mean, in essence, no. But I think that, you know, a certain way, you know, level of expertise is required, and a certain level of experience in that area is required, in both in terms of the understanding the science and understanding the market and the patient needs as well. And those types of understanding and that level of understanding tends to follow with people that have the university education background and that hands-on experience. So I think, you know, it's more of a lineup of those two factors.
All right, great. So our next question is, we are looking at systems but are concerned that it will take too much time. How long and difficult was it to deploy Inova?
So the deployment and starting to use it happened within about 3 days. I would say that the system is ready to go out of the box with very little customization. I think we customized it, the workflow settings to have the names of the Novo Nordisk review stages put in, and so on. Other than that, and we customized a few of the fields for opportunity entry. And then literally from that day onwards, we were putting all of our opportunities in and tracking those. So that was very easy and very quick to do. I think where we have this ongoing project and ongoing work is in terms of refining the data fields and how we use them and how we track the metadata for opportunities, but also really developing some of the reporting and analysis tools and getting some of the dashboards customized to really suit our reporting needs.
Great. So picking back on this question, do you have an automated reporting to senior management in place, or do they use Inova?
Yes, we have an automated system. So we have macros set up. I guess that I don't know what they're called in the Inova terminology, but we have a button in our Inova system that we press, and then it generates a report in Excel formatted, ready for senior management. So it's a very simple system, and you know, so long as we make sure that we keep our data in the system up to date, then it's a very effortless system. Senior management themselves don't have access to the system. That wouldn't be useful for them, and we certainly wouldn't expect them to be going in and looking up things directly.
All right, great. So we have another question. I think this one is for Shankar or Sébastien. They're asking, does Inova have any VC clients who are picking up on the early stage startups?
Sure, I can take that. Yes, we do. We actually have worked with VCs. You know, obviously they kind of, a lot of them that are focused on life sciences basically work as, you know, pharma scouting or BD teams, and so they have a very similar process, and they have very similar workflows, and they have very similar needs as you know, pharma BD and S&E teams do. So the system kind of fits you know, very well for them as well. So yes, you know, we work with VC companies. You know, they've implemented the system pretty much as Neil mentioned, out of the box with you know, some minor changes on the way they work. But most of the functionality that we have available, it fits their needs if they're catering to the life sciences.
In addition, we also see in Europe big pharma companies having the same approach within the companies and doing VC. So we also support that for our pharma clients.
Right. So of course, yeah. You know, nowadays, a lot of the big pharma also have kind of a venture wing in their corporate development teams. So of course, they utilize it as well.
All right, great. So our next question is for Neil. Does Novo Nordisk have plans for an open innovation group based in the UK, such as Oxbridge, Cambridge, or London?
I don't think we have definite plans at this point in time, but I will say that we have established a research site in Oxford over the last couple of years. Literally physically putting a group there, building a building to tap into the ecosystem. So it certainly wouldn't be a million miles away to imagine that happening.
All right, great. So if anyone has any last questions for Neil or Shankar and Sébastien, please just let us know. I think that's all I see for the minute, but we'll give you guys a chance. While we wait, I would like to say, first of all, a big thank you to all of our presenters, Neil especially, for taking your time today to give this presentation, and as well as Shankar and Sébastien. Just as a quick FYI, of course, as all of you know, the Bio International Convention is coming up soon. So if your company is attending this year, just keep an eye out for our upcoming webinar on the Bio Connector that will show you how you can quickly get your bio meeting information into Inova. We'll also have a booth this year, so you can stop by for coffee and a blue macaroon. And we'll be having a wine and cheese get together, so we can all network and get to know each other. But we'll let you know about that in the coming months. And I don't see any final questions, so I think we'll wrap it up for today. Thank you, everyone, for your time, and have a great day.